Hey everyone. So if you see a longer than usual break in my uploads, you know I'm working on something. And this time it's because I'm finishing up the pen and ink shading course and it's almost here, okay? So sorry for the longer than usual pause. Just bear with me. All right, so usually when our disposable pens like this one are running out of ink, first instinct is just to throw them out, right? Well, I usually hold on to mine because I found that when their ink flow is really low, they can become useful in different ways. So in this video, I'll share some tips with you on 3 ways to still use your pens even when the ink is running out. And of course, you know, I couldn't continue without giving a big thank you to everyone who supported my book so far, Pen and Ink Drawing: A Simple Guide and Pen and Ink Drawing Workbook. I really appreciate it. And for everyone who's taken that little time to leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads or any of those websites, I really appreciate it so much. It really means a lot. And also, I know a lot of you have been asking, yes, I am working on having the ebook version available, and that should be ready sometime soon. So keep posted for that as well. And if you haven't done so already, please go over and follow me on Instagram. I'm always sharing new drawings over there with the hope of being able to inspire you. And I also share tips that hopefully you can take something from to apply to your own work. So like I said, if the ink's running out, usually we're inclined to just throw the pens away. I mean, after all, they are disposable pens. The lines are no longer crisp or bold, and the point sometimes looks and feels a bit worn down. And the lines you draw, you know, they start appearing like frayed and blotched and a bit scratchy. So while there is still a little ink left in them, here are 3 ways to use your pens when the ink is starting to run out. Now, the first one is gradation. Now, blending and fading out values is one of the most challenging aspects of pen and ink drawing because all you're using are just lines and the different types of strokes that we have from cross-hatching, hatching, you know, scribbling, stippling, and so on. And also, pen is not like pencil. With pencil, you can easily just press lightly or ease the pressure a bit to create really light lines so your values can fade away smoothly. With pen, you have to create the illusion of values fading away gradually by using different types of stroke variations. Now, the cool thing is when your pens, like disposable pens like these, are running out of ink, you know, the lines become like really scratchy and blotchy and light. And this enables you to create really light lines. So by combining these pens with the ink running out, with the ones where they have a good ink flow, you can now create a much better gradation or smooth gradation in value, because the values that you wouldn't be able to achieve with the good flowing ink, you can pick up with the ones that are running out of ink. So make sure you keep this in mind and really think twice before you throw away these pens when you're running out of ink. Now, another way which is really useful to use these pens when you're running out of ink is in rendering areas that are in light. Now, like with creating smooth gradations, another challenging aspect of drawing and shading with pen and ink is in dealing with areas of a form that's in light. Now, it's easy to render areas in shadow, right? Because we can easily make deep and bold lines. But when we move from shadow to light, then it gets a little bit more challenging because, like I said before, with pencil, we can just use light pressure or create, you know, really light marks. But we need to make a distinct appearance between areas in light and areas in shadow. Otherwise, you can confuse the viewer or flatten the form, and we don't effectively create that sense of 3-dimensionality and volume. This is where these pens come in really handy when they're running out of ink, because the lines they create are so blotchy and frayed and light from the ink, the low ink flow. We can actually now create marks that are not only thin but appear even lighter and are perfect for rendering areas in light. Of course, it can never fully emulate the effects of pencil, but for pen and ink, it's close enough. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do with these pens when they're running out of ink, and that's to create texture. Now, One of the most fun things you can do with pen and ink in general is to create textures. There's an infinite variety of textures you can create to represent all kinds of surfaces. Now, it's part of one of the main reasons why people like doing ink drawings with like paint brushes or sponges or twigs or other unconventional tools, because they give them more variety in the type of marks and strokes they can create. Now, when your pen is running out of ink, it opens up new possibilities of what you can do with your pen, because the lines are not smooth, they're not crisp and even anymore. Like I showed you before, they now become flayed and blotchy, scratchy, and really have this textured appearance naturally. So this helps to expand the reach you have with these pens in general. I love using them to create hair, fur, grass, rocks, all kinds of different textures. And I'm sure when you experiment with these textures, you'll be able to come up with even more applications. So these are just some really cool but effective ways to find uses for your disposable pens when they're running out of ink. Oh, and one last thing, I usually mark them so I don't confuse them with my other pens. And also I usually have a piece of scrap paper around so I can actually test out my marks before I apply them directly to my drawing, because sometimes you may actually use it and the ink may flow a little bit more than you expect to. So I usually test them to make sure that the lines are really scratchy, and then I'll apply them to my drawing. So even though you can't really see much lines here, these can really be effective in those places where using a pen like this the line would be really too heavy. And even though I know this is a really thin line, there are times when you really want a line even thinner and lighter than this, and these are perfect. So I hope you found something you liked or that's useful, and if you did, please give the video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel, remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you won't miss any new uploads. And also remember to follow me on Instagram. And as usual, thanks so much for watching, guys. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.